What's going on, everybody? All right. Let's get that shine bright light. Let's get that. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. All right. All right. Here we go. Okay. Okay. All right. What's going on, people? What is going on? It is Tom Radigan here, and here for a special video. This was kind of unexpected. This was something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I thought, you know what? Why not? What the fuck? Let me do it now. And it is going over, one of my most favorite musicians. This guy right over here, Elvis Presley. Man, one of course, my favorite, musicians of all time. Um, one of the best rock and rollers out there. And yeah, how can we not talk about the king of rock and roll? These are my two big Elvis records I have: Elvis Golden Records and a 45 of Love Me Tender, and the B side, Any Way You Want Me. That's how I'll be. And yeah, no, so I guess what I'm here to talk about today with Elvis and all that is that I just wanted to go over some important things about him in his prime, and I wanted to go over, and the best way to do that was to make a playlist about him and talk about my favorite songs from Elvis and things that I loved from him. And I was thinking, and I've been thinking of this for a while. So when I was in high school, I made a playlist on YouTube on an old channel before I had this channel. It was Tom Radigan. That was the channel. Thomas. I think I had it under my full name, Thomas. So I did Thomas Radigan, and I called this playlist called The Golden Collection, and I thought of it as a three-part disc series. And I got the inspiration from Buddy Holly's album. It's a compilation album that came out in 2009 that has all of the songs that basically, he was known for, and even stuff that Buddy Holly recorded before he was big. And I thought that that would be a good thing for Elvis. The only difference with Elvis and Buddy Holly is, Buddy Holly music wise was around only for 4 years. Elvis, for instance, was around from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. However, I think Elvis's prime was completely in the 50s to me. Not that he didn't have great songs in the 60s and 70s. I'm not saying that. But the songs that really make Elvis who he is that 50s sound with this image of him right here. This is the Elvis I know. That guy, and the guy next to Jerry Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash. That's Johnny Cash. That's the Elvis I love, and yeah, so I thought, if so this is the idea I thought of, making my own compilation album. And I did this as a playlist, like I said, years ago, of 60 songs. And I do it from 1954 to 1961 is his prime, I believe. That was Elvis's prime to me. Songs from 1954 to 61. That was the first part of Elvis. And then the second part of Elvis, we had his movie career, which was from 62 to 69. And then we had his stage career from 69 to his death in 77, like, his Vegas stage career. Yeah, and also to the reason why I chose 61 to be the end date of his prime as well was because he did his last concert, in the before he did the movie contract, and before he went back, 7 years later to do his comeback special, to perform in front of a live audience. But the last time he performed in front of a live audience with, like, the real, like, 50s sound, was in 61, when he played a show in Hawaii. And yeah, no, that was March of 61. So 61 years ago. And yeah, so basically this is basically a compilation album, and I'm gonna do this in three parts. So in the next few days I'll do the two other videos going over the second discs. But this is what I'm doing. So if I was somebody that worked at RCA Victor and I had to come up with an Elvis Presley compilation album, what songs would I choose? So so out of the 60 songs I've picked, and I've thought about this for a really long time, over almost 10 years, I have thought about what I would put on an Elvis Presley compilation album. And this is what I'm telling you guys now, to the public, of This is what I think are Elvis's great 60s, not so much great, like, not saying that, of course, I don't want to just say, oh, I love them because I think they are just the great songs. I think these are the essential Elvis Presley songs that people need to hear in his prime. When you think of Elvis Presley in his prime, what is that? Well, these are the songs right here for you. And also, to another reason why I'm really into this or really want to do more about it is because Elvis has been getting more popularity lately due to the movie with Austin Butler. And if you want to see my thoughts on that, I have a video talking about the Elvis movie. But yeah, no. So I just feel, Elvis is, still very popular as, a performer and somebody who I just admired and always will. I mean, I just love that rockabilly style from him, and there's just something about Elvis that like how can you not love Elvis really? How can you not? So, without a further ado, let's go through the Elvis Presley Golden Collection playlist, disc one, and they all are going to be 20 songs on them too. So I will show you. We'll pull up the list that of songs I came up with, and like I said, I've been thinking about this for years, basically 10 years. I've thought about what I would put on an Elvis Presley Golden Collection, and you guys are finally hearing what it is. So we'll start off with number one. Now this, like I said too, it's not so much of like the great recordings or songs that were hits, songs that weren't even released in the time they were made. So for one of them would be the first song he recorded with his first record label, Sun Records, before he was even signed to Sun Records. And that's When Your Heartaches Begin. And it was recorded July 18th, 1953, just Elvis and the guitar. That's all it is. He came in to Sun Records because he wanted to make a birthday present for his mom. And then a year later, of course, the rest would become history when he would be signed to another Sun Records label from Sam Phillips and all that. But yeah, the story was that he wanted to buy he wanted to give his mom a birthday present. Scotty Moore has said later in the years that he believes that it was really just, yeah, like Scotty Moore's guitarist believed that it was more of just that he wanted to hear himself on the record, really, hear how he sounded. And yeah, so that was the first song recorded. I mean, there's really not that much to say about it. There's just Elvis with the guitar and then doing a little bit of a monologue, which also shows his acting kind of chops because, people don't notice, but of course, Elvis, wanted to be, a singer and all that. But before he thought of, being in music, he actually thought about being an actor because he loved Marlon Brando, James Dean, Tony Curtis. Yeah, no, and he worked in high school as a movie usher. And yeah, no, so it kind of shows like, that like he really does have this type of presence with his voice, not just musically as well. And yeah, so that was recorded July 18th, 1953. That's the first song we have on that track. The second is a year later in 1954, which is I Love You Because, and it was released on Elvis's first album. The album, which was released by RCA, which was Elvis's debut album, which had songs from some records, which RCA bought the rights to in 56. But yeah, so that was released on an album that came out in 56. But this song was recorded in July 5th, 1954, and this was on Elvis's first recording session that Sam Phillips had with him, where he called him up and wanted him to come down in the studio to see like what kind of sound he could get out of Elvis. Yeah, so they did. So he had two musicians he worked with, which became his well-known band, which was Scotty Moore and Bill Black. Scotty Moore, his guitarist, and Bill Black on bass. So that's how it sounds. So that's how it sounds on the record. The three of them, Scotty Moore on lead guitar, Bill Black on bass, Elvis singing, and with rhythm guitar as well. And then the third track we've got is Harbor Lights, which was also recorded July 5th, 1954. He was really just trying to find that right sound for Elvis of what would work. So they thought that might work. Elvis kind of lays out the whistle and all that. With both I Love You Because and Harbor Lights, there really isn't that much to say there. Musically, it's really just, Elvis starting out and all that. There really isn't like, kind of my impression of this is sort of the impression of what Sam Phillips was thinking while he was going through this process. Like, that sounded great, but the only thing is it's been done before. It doesn't sound anything new. He didn't feel that that had his own identity. But wait till we get to the fourth track, because that is the track we talk about, and that is "That's All Right, Mama." Also recorded that same day, July 5th, 1954, which is probably what that session is well known for, is the birth of that song, which was written by Arthur Crudup. And the song would change everything for Elvis, leading him into this roller coaster of success, which, was the start of it all. This was the song that got Elvis to really, shine, and really people see like, oh, this guy has got a voice. And even not just that, but even hearing Scotty Moore and Bill Black shine on their instruments. Bill Black on bass, Scotty Moore on guitar with that, those guitar riffs and that little guitar solo that he had. Like, oh my God, what a killer, and it came about this song after the long day of the recording progress, and yeah, of the recording session with really little progress, and yeah, successful single came out of it and it was all by accident. It was when Sam Phillips was like, all right, you know what, just take a break, we'll come back to this, and they were all goofing around, and they started playing "That's All Right, Mama," and that's how that came about. So the B side of that song was recorded a day later, July 6th of 1954, and that is "Blue Moon of Kentucky." That is another well-known song written by country legend Bill Monroe. And oh my God, yeah, just another great one. Such a rockabilly country tune. Of course, you got Scotty Moore and Bill Black on that lineup of just backing Elvis up, and such a great, what's cool about it is because it is a country song, Elvis brings so much rockabilly to it and brings such a new flavor, and really kind of throws out the old country version, really shows you what's and that's the thing too. In early 1954, nobody really knew what rock and roll was. There weren't that many people doing rock and roll. Elvis was really one of the first. You had the other white musician that was doing it at that time was Bill Haley in the Commons. But there really wasn't that many other white musicians. I mean, of course, African Americans were doing this, from, it was their music and all that. So you had already Muddy Waters, Big Joe Turner. But, for Elvis to be, was able to, really worship, the blues sound, but it's really a combination of blues, country music, uh, you know, that all goes into this whole rockabilly element, with kind of country hillbilly stuff, and yeah, no, and it works so well. And so the sixth track we've got is just "Blue Moon," which of course is a well-known, ballad and standard. This was recorded August 19th of 1954, so we're going into a month later, with, of course, the same ingredients of what makes an Elvis record at this point, which is, him on lead vocals and rhythm guitar, with Scotty Moore backing him on, of course, lead guitar, and Bill Black on bass, with Sam Phillips being, the legendary producer he is. And yeah, I mean, there really isn't that much to say about Blue Moon that I can say about "That's All Right, Mom" and "Blue Moon of Kentucky," because "That's All Right, Mom" and "Blue Moon of Kentucky" was like my introduction of who Elvis was, or what was like the first song that made Elvis Presley. There's a lot I can say about those songs, even in videos alone. Because when I first heard "That's All Right, Mom," it just became such an earworm for me. Same with "Blue Moon of Kentucky," just like it really, you really felt that. What I always feel with Elvis too is that you really feel that presence of the 50s coming at you, that real rockabilly sound just really coming right near you. And it's just, oh God, I love it. I can't get enough of it. I'm serious. And then we've got for the seventh track, Just Because, which like because like Blue Moon, not that much goes on in it, like this weird whistle, but like that Elvis does, but it's really not that much for me. But I had to include it on the list because I feel like it's the songs that were leading Elvis to the success of the 50s, of songs that you had to include. And this first disc is going to include basically mostly all of the songs he did on the Sun Records, which, when people think of Elvis, some people have a specific, preference of him, maybe more of like the gospel style, the Vegas style. For me, it's really the Sun Records, and of course, the early RCA, rich hits. But yeah, no, so, yeah, the seventh song would be Just Because, recorded September 10th of 1954. Yeah, and the addition actually for this one was because Elvis didn't really have a drummer at the time. On percussion, Doug Poindexter was the guy who they had, who was like filling in as like the drummer and all that at that time. And then the rest was, the same, of course, lineup with Scotty Moore and Bill Black. And then, yeah, no, so it's a very fast, ditty and all that. I loved it as a kid. I remember, when I, heard the song, the first time when I was in middle school, I would sing it a lot. It's just, such a catchy song. And the way Elvis just comes into the song right away with really no intro, you just hear that voice. And, the lyrics are, kind of corny, but, it works with Elvis's voice. And, the way Elvis can just deliver the whole song in 2 minutes works pretty well for me. Then we got coming in number 8, we got I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, also recorded September 10th of 54. And this was a song actually known by Dean Martin. And then, yeah, no, and this was going to be used for Elvis's next single. There was a bongo sound on it. We had bongos played by Buddy Blake Cunningham. And then, of course, I don't really need to say the rest. It's, the drill at this point. Scotty Moore, Bill Black, and Sam Phillips being the producer, putting that whole sound together. And it's not the rock and roll Elvis sound. It's more of like, like songs like Just Because and I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine aren't essentially like, so standout Elvis songs to me, in my opinion. Like songs that really stand out, but they're more of songs that kind of also represent his range of songs that can go into country, go into a little bit of the hillbilly style. With this, it's this song is kind of more considered a standard, but he brings more of a country rock feel to it. Then going with I'll Never Let You Go, Real Darling, which is a little bit slower, from my opinion. Another song I made on the Elvis album. He does this cool vocal technique where he goes pretty slow on the song as well, which I kind of like. And it was recorded September 10th. And yeah, no. And really, like I say, the four men that make this record like the rest are Elvis, Scotty, Bill, and Sam. Really, that's really it. And then coming at number 10 is one of my favorite early Elvis songs, which is "Good Rockin' Tonight" by Roy Brown. Now, some people might even argue that this was the first rock and roll song, especially when Naomi Harris did it in '48. But this version with Elvis, the way he just, brings out that voice, like, well, heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight. Well, I heard the news, there's a good rockin' tonight. I'm not gonna even, try to do my Elvis impression and all that. But yeah, no, I love that song. It's so great. It represents that it's rock and roll time. There's gonna be some rocking tonight. The guitar work is so incredible. Doug Poindexter joins them again on percussion. It's just God, I really, I can't say that much about it. It was also part of the September 10th sessions. This was one of the highlights. Like That's All Right Mama was the highlight of the July 5th sessions. This is the highlight of the September 10th sessions. This is the song that really, I think, shows Elvis's range of, at that time, like I said, 1954, it was still like people still didn't really know what rock music was or how to even market it for that matter. And this song just shows that really rock and roll is something. There is something here. There is some kind of force it's bringing on people, and yeah, I mean, how can you not, when you listen to these songs, how can you not get some kind of happy feeling when you listen to it, whether you're driving in the car on a sunny day, or you're going for a walk, or you're just listening to it with your friends or your girlfriend or wherever, these are songs that really can bring a cool joy, I think, in my opinion. And then, yeah, no, so then we're going on to number 11, which is Milk Cow Blues Boogie, which was recorded in December '54, which is another song that really shows the rockin' style of who Elvis was. And it starts off really slow. You don't know where it's gonna go, just Elvis. But you know what? It doesn't move him. He really wants to go real down for a change. And then that's when it hits. Well, okay, I'm not gonna I can't make a fool of myself. I mean, I'm already making a fool of myself, but, hey. But, yeah, Milk Cow Blues Boogie, just, a lot of, like, the guitar work too, like, I love, like, the kind of the fret work that Scotty Moore does, and, Bill Black's, bass lines coming in, to it, but especially, like, the like, how it just keeps going fast, fast, and just really, like, it almost like kind of like a real ditty, um, just spinning at you. And then number 12, we got your Heartbreaker, which would be the B side for that. And yeah, that was recorded also in December '54. Not it's like it's a B-side song, like, with Good Rockin' Tonight and I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, which I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, they were trying to market more as the main single, but Good Tonight is really an A-side to me, and I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine is more of a B-side in my opinion. When it comes to Milk Cow Blues Boogie, that's the A-side. Your Heartbreaker definitely has more quality for a B-side. The song is good. It's kind of slow. It's not my favorite Elvis song, and I'll listen to it when I can. But it's not a song that I can listen on loop to loop like some of the early songs like "Good Rock Tonight," "That's Alright Mama," "Boom Boom Kentucky," even "Milk Cow Blues Boogie" for that matter. But I mean, it's not like Elvis is Elvis. It's like it's like what you say about the Beatles. It's like you can't really say that there's a bad Beatles song. It's kind of like with Elvis. You can't really say there's a really like bad Elvis song. And then coming to number 13, we got Baby Let's Play House. And how do you not love Baby Let's Play House? Which was funny. It was used in the Elvis movie, which, if you know my thoughts for the Elvis movie, you'll kind of understand. Like, if you've seen my video on that, you'll kind of have an idea of how I think about that scene. Um, so, but the song itself, so it was recorded February 5th. Now we're exiting 54 now. We're entering 1955. So it was February 5th of 1955. And, just a real, kind of rockin' style coming through. Especially how Elvis starts off with that low voice, just really, emphasizing the word baby, like, oh, baby, baby. And then the way the bass kicks in, the guitar, and all that. So great. It's a real like even though this was done before Elvis was really big and before he was on RCA, which is a real polished record label, one of the main record companies. Sun was just this little label in Memphis, Tennessee. But the one thing is it is a real polished record for a Sun Records. And this is like, Sam Phillips made, had some great records that came out that were main hits. But there was a certain limit that he could take Elvis with, and he knew it himself. Elvis was this star. He was different than somebody on the label like a Johnny Cash or Carl Perkins or Jerry Lee Lewis for that matter. But I remember, if you ever really want to get introduced to Elvis too, you got to listen to the Dorsey Brothers stage show. The Dorsey Brothers stage show, the first TV appearance Elvis did in '56. He did a few of them, and he played "Baby Let's Play House" on it, and that alone just is such a great song. I didn't even know at the time because I remember hearing the song and I thought, oh, that's probably a song that came out around that time, and I didn't know, oh, that was a year earlier, that song. And I like, there's there's a line in it that's very controversial, which actually is which brings kind of oh God, what's the word? Just which is just another, which also is a line from another famous song, and the line is in the song. Now, this is how it goes. Now, listen to Let Me Tell You, Baby. Try to understand. I rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man. Huh. Where could that song be from? Could it be from a Beatles song? Yeah, the Beatles used it that 10 years later in "Run for Your Life," that line. So they probably got it from "Baby Let's Play House." I mean, I remember when I heard that line in sixth grade from listening to the song "Baby Let's Play House." I'm like, really, really good, catchy song. And then you hear that line where it's like, where it just stop, where the whole song kind of stops. Where it goes, "I'd rather see you dead than a girl," and the way he does it live at the show is kind of cool too. And you really kind of got to dig deep for these Dorsey Brothers stage show stuff because when I saw them, about 11 years ago on YouTube, you could catch like any clip you want. There were multiple clips, but now I don't know whoever has the rights to Dorsey Brothers stage shows. They've limited, I guess, the types of releases or of what you can see when it comes to Elvis's appearances on those shows. But yeah, no, um, you know, what a of course, what a great tune. Yeah, and then we're going to the other B-side, which was recorded in February or March '55, which was "I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone," which the way he says it in the song is kind of a complete contradiction. And he sings in the song, "I'm right, you're left, she's gone," which kind of it's all a whole topsy turvy type of thing. And yeah, it's a whole, that situation. The drummer on this session was Jimmy Lott, so that was like the few of the drummers they used for like they kept like kind of changing up the drummers in some ways. Um, but to try to find who was going to be that drummer that would fulfill, be the permanent one, with the rest of with Elvis, Scotty, and Bill. But yeah, no, it's not like I said, like the other songs stand out as an A side and B side, and not that like when people talk about a B side, especially in the '50s, the B side when you know albums weren't what were well known. It was the singles, and the B sides were always like the songs that were not the hit, that were just like the throwaway song that you just needed to put on the record. But it was really the A side, which is what you were trying to sell. And definitely, "I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone" is a B side in my opinion. The same with "You're a Heartbreaker" or "I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine." It's not a song that I'd listen on loop to loop, but it's definitely it's Elvis, so I'd listen to it, of course, a multiple amount of times. And then yeah, so coming at so we have "Baby Let's Play House." "I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone." So that's our so we have 14 songs we've talked about. Now we're getting close. We're getting close to the end of side one, and that is "Mystery Train," which is number 15, written by Junior Parker. And the addition to this member of the Blue Moon Boys, now this time, was Johnny Bernero. And he was the drummer for this. And "Mystery Train," oh my God, as an Elvis song, how could you not love it? "Train a Ride," 16 coaches long, the beat, just everything, the way it kicks in, just another, Elvis gem right there. That just is such a, a good song that, when you think of Elvis, of course you're gonna think of a song like that, which was actually, covered. It's a song that, of course, got covered over the years. Of course, by the band on their album Dog Matinee, and they even did it in the film The Last Waltz. But Mystery Train itself as an Elvis song is just, oh, just great in my mind. There's really, one of my favorite Elvis songs. That's a song I play, over and over again. Especially when I'm in the car or wherever. That's an Elvis song I definitely feel like you definitely gotta play. And that was, yeah, recorded July 11th of '55. And then the next song I want to talk about is another really, real Elvis gem right here, and that is I Forgot to Remember to Forget. At first, I didn't know what to think of this song, but this song is a ballad that really kind of is just shows the beauty in Elvis's voice, and the low vocal range, but to the normal mild range he could keep as well. And yeah, it works too. And what's funny is this song got Elvis his first number one, not on the Billboard charts, but it made the Billboard charts on the country charts, and that was his first actually number one hit. And it was on the country charts, and of course the song came out in '55, done on July 11th. And yeah, and it was, yeah, I Forgot to Remember to Forget was the first number one song from Elvis for country. And yeah, no, that was an incredible fact for me when I found that out, because you know when I think of Elvis in '55 and '54, not to say that he didn't have some good songs, but he wasn't as popular as he was in '56. So there was a difference with Elvis then. But definitely a song that you got to look back on and really, take just really, see the beauty in. And that also had Johnny Nero on drums. And then number 17, we've got another song that was recorded July 11th, which is another great classic, and gem of Sun Records, which would be "Trying to Get to You." This is probably one of my favorite Elvis songs from 1955. Definitely such a good song that really stands out. Uh, you know, it's a guy trying to get to a girl. Been traveling night a day, baby, trying to get to you. And I just I love Elvis's voice. I love the guitar. With a lot, like I said earlier, with this Elvis song, you really feel the presence of his voice, the presence of the 50s itself, the presence of the year 1955, the midpoint of the decade of and figuring out what is rock and roll music, what is this type of, sound, what is this that we are hearing. And that's the thing I think is interesting to know when it comes to a song like this. And it's definitely, I feel like, a song that had hit potential that really wasn't like a big smash or anything, but I just love Elvis's voice. I love the production on it. That says something too with Sun Records, is that even though Sam Phillips was a great record producer, he really was able to kind of expand his sound in just a year. From, I mean, you listen to some of the songs from 1955 and 1954, and you can notice a huge difference in the production quality as well. So yeah, so we've got three songs left, and the next song, number 18, is a song that you probably will know. If you don't know it, then you've been living under a rock your whole life, and that is Heartbreak Hotel, 1956, recorded on January 10th, 2 days after his 21st birthday, and yeah, written by Mae Axton and Tommy Durden. And it was the first single for RCA, and of course, it was the song that put Elvis on the map, of course. And it was the first song that he did for RCA. So yeah, we're entering 1956 now, which is the golden Elvis age. This was Elvis's year, like how the Beatles' year was 64. This 56 was Elvis's year. That was the great year for him. And yeah, and of course, what makes this record? Elvis on guitar, on rhythm guitar, and his killer voice that just is out of this world, where you hear, no intro, just goes right into it. The way he sounds on the mic, Bill Black's bass, DJ Fontana's drumming. Yeah, the first time we hear DJ Fontana on an Elvis record, and he's also accompanied by other musicians, Floyd Kramer on piano, and the legendary Chet Atkins on acoustic guitar. That was how, and it was produced by Stephen Scholes. But another thing to mention about Elvis, which I, sort of knew, but even found out more in the Elvis documentary, is that really Elvis does not get that much credit as a producer in some ways, and didn't get that. Elvis wasn't a songwriter by any means. He didn't write any songs, but did have his own publishing company, and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was able to get Elvis a co-writing credit on certain songs, even though he did not write a song, because it would make Elvis a little bit more money with the publishing, and the rights for that. But Elvis does not get credit for how he produced these records, because Steve Sholes, the guy who was the producer, did not really know how to produce a rock and roll record. Rock wasn't new thing. RCA, just saw this guy was a sensation. So they're like, we have to sign him. This guy's gonna be some. They could tell this guy had something. This guy was gonna be somebody. And of course he was. I mean, he was. He's Elvis fucking Presley. And yeah, no. Heartbreak Hotel, of course, is probably one of my favorite Elvis songs of all time. I mean, how could it not be? The way the guitar is, the way Elvis's voice is, the way the piano is. It's not your typical rock song because it's bluesy, but it's got like this whole beat, the piano, like how it just like flies out of the sky. And yeah, no, like it's really Elvis all the way, man. That's really the whole takeaway. Elvis all the way, and that's the real thing about it. And yeah, no, and hearing him play this for the first time on the Dorsey Brothers stage show, even when he played on Milton Berle, but definitely Dorsey Brothers stage show, he brings this whole, such this magical, performance and presence to his voice, and his look of how he sings when he does the song, how he looks when he sings the song, and yeah, just the way he starts off, and then the beat comes in. Well, since my baby left me, yeah. Well, I found a new place to dwell, yeah. And just the way it goes more and more, than how the guitar work, and the instrumentation gets slower, and just really feels the groove of it. And another thing too, Scotty Moore talks about how Elvis was as a band leader, as the leader of the group, that he wasn't this like, oh, I needed a specific way. He told the guys to play how they feel. Scotty Moore said the only thing that he might control is could we go a little faster, or could we go a little bit slower, like the tempo, but never was like to Scotty Moore like, oh, you need to be playing like a B flat instead of like an A minor and all that, like you need to he wasn't like that. Elvis wasn't like Elvis was musically genius, but not classically trained by any means. But yeah, no. So this was a part of the first big recording sessions of RCA Records, and that was January 10th. For number 19, the song we got that also made it on that session, which also made it on the Elvis album, which was Money Honey, and which was a song that was originally well known by Clyde McPhatter and the Drifters. And you got the four guys: Elvis, Scotty, Bill, and DJ Fontana. We no longer have Sam Phillips because now Elvis is part of RCA at this point. But he's accompanied by Chet Atkins, Floyd Kramer. So there's six musicians on this record, but it doesn't really feel. It's like you know back in the day you needed so many people on a record, it seemed like. But Elvis showed that even with even though there was a little bit more people than there were on the Sun records when it was just Elvis, Scotty, and Bill. They didn't need that big of a group. And that's what kind of 50s rock groups like with Buddy Holly and the Crickets. You don't need that many guys. You can arrange a small group to sound just as good as a big one and have a lot of potential, and yeah, and Honey is just a song that wasn't, of course, a hit, but it is rock and roll. And when he played it on, I love his performance of it on Dorsey Brothers stage show, too. The way he belts out his voice on it. I mean, I think I like the live version a little bit better than the studio version. The live version sounds a lot different than the studio version. The studio version definitely sounds more, manufactured and produced in there, and has that studio quality of a sound. But then we've got, yeah, to end the first disc, which would be I Was the One, written by Aaron Schroeder, Bill Peppers, Claude Demetrius, and Hal Blair. This was the first of the Elvis songs to feature backing vocals. This was done by Gordon Stoker and brothers Ben and Brock Spear, accompanied, of course, by Chet Atkins and Floyd Kramer. Of course, you got Elvis and the Blue Moon Boys. But yeah, no, yeah, no, it's a B-side song. It's not, of course, a gem, especially not a special song like Heartbreak Hotel. But it's got, it's a song that I didn't, know right away when I first got into Elvis. But it's a song that has this ballad that really kind of shows that Elvis really does have this different range. Elvis is a different type of person when it came to rock and roll. It wasn't just one type of thing. There's a reason why Elvis is known as a superstar. There's a reason why Elvis was known as this legend at the time. Or like, we never really had a success. I mean, of course, we've had big musicians and big singers, but not to the impact that Elvis had on, especially teenagers. I mean, Elvis influenced everybody from England. I mean, Elvis was really somebody who was this was rock and roll was just his thing. He knew how to do it. He knew what black records sounded like at that time. He was the one that could, he was, no pun intended, was the one that could make this music sound the way it did. And that's why in some ways I feel like people like Steve Sholes shouldn't get the credit, and it should go to Elvis in some ways. But at that time, especially in the 50s, no art, it's like the line in the Buddy Holly story, and it was true. No artist has ever been their own producer, and but of course that changed in the '60s with Brian Wilson producing himself with the Beach Boys. It became a different thing. But in the '50s, there was a lot that was unusual. Like people like writing their own songs, like musicians writing their own songs, like Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry. It was not common, in the '50s for singers to write songs. Now we judge singers and performers if they don't write songs nowadays. It's so much. The climate changes all the time, and the opinions of how people view pop culture and music are going to change as well. But yeah, no, I was the one. Yeah, definitely. Hey, it's a ballad. So yeah, so that ends disc one of the Elvis Presley Golden Collection. And yeah, no. So I just want you to keep in mind that I will be doing a two more parts of the Elvis Golden Collection series, where I'll be talking about two other uh, hit albums that I'm going to be calling. I'm going to be this is an album in my opinion, and I will be putting the playlist down for people to hear as well, so people can check it out as well, and I will make it open so people can hear the playlist and really get a good feel of who Elvis is. And oh, let's see. Okay, comment. Did you see the Elvis movie? Um, yeah, I did see the Elvis movie. I said earlier on. I mean, I had a video talking about the Elvis movie. It wasn't my favorite portrayal. I mean, I love Kurt Russell more. I don't know, like, did you see the Elvis movie? Like, I know everybody's raving about it, how it's this great movie, and that Austin Butler was like the only one that could play Elvis. I mean, I really still think Kurt Russell just does, hell of a job. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch, Kurt Russell version. But, I mean, it's so hard to do a biopic of somebody, especially somebody who's been done before. But and I kind of want to do this now because I was inspired to really talk about the Golden Collection now after watching the Elvis movie because it just there's so much that inspired me. Yeah. And I did. I liked Austin. Can't go wrong with Tom Hanks. Yeah, I mean, listen, Tom Hanks, one of my favorite actors. You really can't. But it was weird, in my opinion, to see him play Colonel Tom Parker because you know I know, I just when I think of Tom Hanks, I mean, I know because Tom Hanks is an older guy now. I always thought of Tom Hanks as this leading man, and I still, when I picture Tom Hanks, I picture more of the black hair Tom Hanks, and the curly hair Tom Hanks in the '80s or the '90s, straight hair Tom Hanks. So it's sort of interesting, now that he plays more side characters, that he's not, your leading man as he once was. But yeah, no, it's like yeah, picture Forrest Gump. Yeah, it's sort of weird to see him as this side character, and for him to play somebody who is iconic of itself. And Colin Tom Parker's iconic not in like the celebrity way, but just because he's this well-known music manager. Um, but yeah, of course Woody. You know, but yeah, no, but yeah, I mean, I think Austin Butler, I will say, captured, an early essence of Elvis too. But I think, when people say like when I see Elvis, when I'm watching this, I think that's Elvis Presley. That's not so much me. There are sometimes I will say I actually I'll take that back in some way. I was going through HBO Max and they have the Elvis documentary. That's the way it is, and the picture looked like, for me, I thought, oh, that's Austin Butler, Elvis, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, that's actually Elvis because it showed 1970. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, yeah, there was some similarities there. I never really got really into the biopics. There's a lot, yeah, exactly, and there was a lot of stuff I felt like in this film wasn't historically accurate, and they were really like, not keep track of the years and all that. Like for instance, when it came time to do, when he was performing in Jacksonville in '56, like he didn't have this big band with him and did the song Trouble. Trouble wasn't even recorded until 2 years later. And the same with what you call it? With Graceland, when they talk about how he got Graceland. He didn't get Graceland in '56, he got it in '57. So it's like, certain things I knew that, I definitely knew for sure the movie got wrong. That's why I've always loved the Kurt Russell film. Yeah, no, no, no. Austin Butler. Yeah, well, he did the earliest in the '70s. Apparently, they blended his voice with Elvis, with actual Elvis recordings. But yeah, no. There were times I was like, "Oh, did Elvis do this? Is this an outtake of Elvis doing it?" I'm like, "Wait, that's Austin Butler," because I knew Austin Butler as an actor, but I didn't, know that he could sing. I just knew that he was more of an actor. But yeah, no. When he's saying, he really did, take this dedication of sounding like Elvis, and I mean, in some ways, it was too Hollywood for me. Boz Lerman isn't my favorite director and all that, And I'm just really like protective when it comes to artists and people who I really love and just who I really think are great. But I'm gonna of course like I said I can't say it's my favorite film, but I will say it's something that I've seen that I've liked. Oh, they didn't have him sing CC Rider in the intro. They went into That's Alright Mama. Should have been C. Oh, okay, yeah, right during the Vegas stuff. But yeah, no. So that's really my thoughts on these Elvis songs today, and I definitely will show part two and part three soon. And yeah, no, definitely check out my playlist. And this was stuff I had in my mind for a really long time. I know, that's how I feel. I mean, because that was the thing with Austin Butler, with how it's like, well, he came a long way from iCarly, Yeah, I mean, even he was on Zoe 101, and I just thought, this was the dullest. And I thought and I'll be honest, I thought he played the dullest fucking character on Zoe 101. And when I first heard that he was the one playing Elvis, I'm like, the guy who played James on Zoe 101. This is the guy who's going to be fucking Elvis Presley. I lost it. I was like, is the like what's happening to the world? Like all that. Like he was in. Oh yeah, and Drake and Josh. And it's funny. I've been rewatching That's the Classified, and you see him in it a few times, and he has more. Like he's in a few episodes, and he doesn't have a name in the character. He doesn't have a name or anything, but you see him in a few episodes, and he has no part. But there's this one scene where they mention him, but they don't mention him as a name. Like Ned just says, "Not guy who's not me." And they didn't give any thought of like him his name. They just he was just an extra they could use. But yeah, he doesn't talk in That's a Classified. He doesn't talk in Drake and Josh either. And then yeah, of course iCarly he was in. So he really did come a long way, and I think he definitely is a different actor now, and it will be interesting to see what Austin Butler does besides Elvis now. They won. Yeah, no, it wasn't a rumor. They did. They Harry Styles was somebody they thought of. Miles Teller was somebody they thought of. It would have definitely been different. Yeah, I really don't know how I can see Harry Styles. I mean, like, it's not like I had an issue with Austin Butler being it. I just like, in my opinion, I just have a hard time seeing any current actor being Elvis. But he really did. I think was able to show a different portrayal of how Elvis could be. It's just like like I said, I've always loved the Kurt Russell Elvis movie better. With John Carpenter directing, I thought that's Elvis to me. That like shows this. This is more of kind of theater in my opinion, almost like Elton John's Rocket Man. It's not really so much of a song itself. A movie itself that focuses on, who the character is and all that. I could say, oh yeah, Harry Styles played Jagger, of course, but yeah, but definitely in a biopic, especially if they do it soon. I mean, Harry Styles, is almost 30, so hopefully, they do one soon. If they ever do one, Stone's biopic, you definitely pull that off. But yeah, no. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you. Well, of course, thank you, Alk6195. I can always count on you for coming into these discussions, always making this fun. And yeah, anybody who didn't catch the live, that's all right. You can watch these videos for eternity, unless I ever delete them. But yeah, no. So Elvis all the way, people. Elvis all the way.